All right, we're about to dive into a story that is, well, it's pretty wild. It's this incredible tapestry that weaves together ancient prophecy, hidden codes in scripture, and a message that could only be delivered using today's technology. Think of it like a prophetic checklist for the digital age. Let's get into it.
So this is really the central question, isn't it? What if all the signs of a long-awaited arrival weren't just dusty prophecies in old books, but are actually unfolding right now in our lifetime? Let's take a look at what the sources are saying. Okay, so our journey really begins with the final words of a highly respected spiritual leader. Words that, as you'll see, set the stage for everything that comes next.
So, this is Rabbi Yitzhak Kaduri, a really big deal in his community, and before he passed away, he made a pretty startling claim that he had actually met the Messiah, and he left behind a series of very specific, almost checklist-like signs so that other people could recognize him too.
And here's what's so fascinating. This wasn't some vague, the stars will align kind of prediction. No, it was tied to a very real, very concrete event. The former Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon died in January 2014. So according to this prophecy, that's when the clock started ticking. And here is that checklist we were talking about. Kaduri said the Messiah would use the media to get his message out, that he wouldn't be a politician, but just one of the people. And get this, his arrival would come after elections that, well, they just failed to form a government. He also said that the people who aren't super religious might actually have an easier time accepting him, and that a lot of people would already know his name. They just wouldn't believe he was the one. Now, you're going to want to keep these points in your back pocket because they become absolutely crucial later on. All right, so now we're moving on to the next piece of this puzzle. We're going from a deathbed prophecy to a hidden code, one that's allegedly been sitting inside the Torah for thousands of years.
So, what is the Bible code? Well, the basic idea is that if you use powerful computers to scan the original Hebrew text of the Torah, looking for letters spaced out at equal intervals, you can uncover these hidden messages. It's this wild mix of ancient scripture and really modern data analysis, and it points to a very, very specific moment in time.
So researchers studying this code, they found something pretty remarkable. The Hebrew year 5772, which for us is the year 2012, appeared only one time, just once in this incredibly complex matrix of letters. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just the year itself that was so significant. It was the words found literally encoded around it. You have Passover, redemption, Elijah, who, is supposed to show up right before the Messiah, and then the word Messiah itself. For the people who believe in this code, this was like a giant flashing neon sign. Which of course brings us to the final piece of our puzzle, a modern figure who shows up, mostly online, with a message that seemed to fit this prophetic frame, almost a little too perfectly. So this figure emerges during a time when people were already looking for signs. There was this video of a supposed UFO over Jerusalem that had the internet just completely buzzing. And in that atmosphere of speculation, this new voice appeared, a man who called himself Lord Rael. And his message? Well, it was anything but subtle. It was apocalyptic. It was direct. He talked about judgment, about a choice that was being presented to all the world's leaders. It was a message of just immense power and, a pretty serious threat. But then, right on the heels of that fire and brimstone, you get this. A message not about wrath, but about a profound love, an offer of salvation. This incredible duality, total destruction on one hand and infinite love on the other, it really became the hallmark of his whole message.
So, let's recap. We have three main elements on the table: the rabbi's checklist, the code's very specific timeline, and this modern-day claimant. Now, let's see how the sources put all these dots together.
You might be asking, okay, how does this all actually connect, right? How do the prophecies of an elderly rabbi from years ago possibly line up with some modern figure on the internet? Well, this is how that narrative gets built. First, Sharon's death in 2014 provides the starting gun. Then you have the prediction about elections with no government, and boom, look at Israel's political situation in 2019, multiple elections, total gridlock. Kaduri said the Messiah would use the media. Lord Riel's entire platform is the internet. He wouldn't hold political office. Riel's presented as a spiritual figure, not a politician, and that the non-religious might follow more easily. Well, his message is often critical of organized religion. You see, one by one, the items on the prophetic checklist are matched up with modern events and claims. So, if we take a step back from all the specific claims for a moment, what does this whole story really mean? It raises some really fascinating questions about what belief even looks like in our digital world. I mean, think about it. A message that once might have been delivered to a small crowd in a village,
can now reach a global audience in the blink of an eye. The internet doesn't just change how fast a message travels, it changes the whole game, how these claims are shared, debated, and ultimately how they're believed.
And maybe that's the real takeaway here. When you have ancient prophecy meeting Bible codes, meeting YouTube messages, we're kind of forced to ask a really fundamental question. In a world that is just overflowing with information, what's the magic combination of evidence and authority and just plain feeling that actually makes someone believe?